because there's a reason. It doesn't mean it's understood. It doesn't make it alright.
Okay, mic check, test 1, 2. Let me know if you can hear me. I hope it's not lagging too much or anything. Okay, sweet. I think there's a bit of a perspective issue going on. Like on certain parts of its body, it looks as if you want it to be looking down, but it's just very flat overall. So I would suggest, since the horizon line's super low, you'd want us to be looking up at him more, probably. And there's an issue with the ellipse on the shield as well. Just gonna go in and redline and see what I can spot proportionally. I also, from what your original is, I expanded it a bit more because it seems a bit squarish, especially for a full entire figure, so just expanded it to about the size of like a regular piece of paper. It might work a little bit better to fit the figure and the whole entire design in it. So I'm just gonna quickly paint out the seam. Everything's really flat and really still. I wonder, what could we do to make this a little bit stronger? Gonna select him out. Center him a bit more. Should I draw over it first and then paint? I don't know. Such is life. Actually, I'm gonna fill this with the light gray. I'll lower the opacity. Sketch over the top of them. So, let's see, what was the issue? It's very straight up and down, what I can see on the original. Thus meaning it's not very imposing or full of action or anything. It's just very, hey, I'm here. Rah. So, what I want to do is I want to bring him more to the center. I want to try and push out his legs to make him more of like triangular stance. And then we got to figure out this perspective a bit more. Like maybe that we have like a low shot, we're looking up at him but he's bending forward. this hand out with a sword, and then we're gonna have to fix the ellipse on this because it's not going properly into perspective. An easy way to do this actually would probably, you could draw it out, or you can just do the good old elliptical marquee tool. Just stretch it out, fill it with color, and just squeeze it down. Like that. There we go. So we keep that there for now. I'm gonna go into the layer below, grab my brush tool again. Let's set this to current layer. When in doubt, flip. This like would be coming forward. The knee would be about there. Ankle would be here. Foot would be coming towards us. This other foot would be going into the background. Like that. Trying to fix his spine a bit. It's not curving correctly. So I'm taking it back from where the tailbone is and leading up. Bring it up to his neck where his head's at. So I think it would be more interesting if there's a slight turn to his rib cage. Maybe. And shoulder armor seems to be a bit odd too, with how the body is. Let's see, that could be here. This would be here. Just gonna color this in with one solid mass of color. And I gotta go and separate out those again. Just gonna do the general shape. It seems to be like more of a drawing issue at the beginning. Did you start with just shapes and then try to figure it out, or what was your approach when you began on this? It almost seems as if it was just 100% just painted from the get-go. The armor would be doing this. Let's see, the shoulders be like this. Is this more of like a concept piece, or is this more of like an illustrative piece? Like, what did you want to use it for? If you don't mind me asking. Ah, you just did the skeleton first. I see. I got you. It's all good. And then you built the armor on top of it. Yeah, it's fitting a bit strange. More of an illustrated piece. I gotcha. I mean, it's pretty cool. I like the colors you chose. Those are nice. Let's see. I'm gonna fix these hips a bit. I keep forgetting to switch back to black. Okay. So I'm gonna still keep him looking at the camera. That's a good idea. Keep him looking towards us. Being like, what's up? Welcome to my dungeon. You gave him a good attitude. Try to keep the weight distribution where it's like back leg is kind of like that. I think the hip armor would be a bit thicker. Because I don't know, I imagine that he probably was once living down here. So I think the armor would be a little bit looser on his shoulders and everything like that. Like the pauldrons. They'd probably come out just a bit more. Maybe. Really play up that silhouette. Let's see how helmet needs to come out just a bit more on the sides. Alright. Maybe having the sword like as if he's dragging it behind him would be kind of cool. Like, just imagine him like lumbering towards you. So maybe we could drop his arm further back and then have the sword dragging on the ground. I think that'd be kind of interesting, but it's really up to you. That'd be pretty neat, I think. It's just an idea. Okay, so gonna move that there. Is here. Just layers like that. Background stuff's an environment. Yeah, it just comes down to getting a bit of reference for it. So you're looking at like a very misty, rocky, foggy sort of thing. So let's say if you have any landscapes or anything like that, or any sort of swampy looking things, maybe that would help. Let's see what I have in here. No, does not work. Something with lots of rocks, moss. I think this comes down to using Google image search. Let's see. Maybe like something like that. This. I'll do those. Let's open these in Photoshop. So we can get some sort of mood and atmosphere. Oops. Arrange this side by side and I'll drag over these. Another good thing to like search for images to use for reference. Reddit has a lot of good like photos and stuff like that on it, so that might be helpful to check that out. So just looking at the reference, just try to take what you like out of it, like the fogginess and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to paint over the top now. Kind of just roughed it in. And the thing about the background and everything like that is that like, it very much has a lot to do with your character and the setting and the way your character is colored and interacts with the environment. Like everything will be affecting it. Make these shoulder pads just a bit bigger. Extend this helmet on this side. And with scenes like this, I mean, you got the rocky stuff. It might help to push this down just a little, make this kind of like a slant. Coming towards us. That was sweeping up probably. Just try to use any sort of excuse to add a bit more layers to it, to the landscape. Let me grab the sword color. The elbow is going to be at the rib cage. It's going to be down here. I'm trying to expand this on the hips a bit more. And let's see. Flip them. You could actually do some dappled lighting if you want to have like in a foresty sort of thing. You could do some dappled lighting. I mean, overall it looks very diffused, which is cool. I mean, that could be like the foggy sort of scene right here where it's all just diffused lighting. There's no real direction to it. It's just all hitting from above, thus making everything just very evenly lit, which is nice. You get a lot of mood that way. And I would say, this guy's more supposed to be like a Viking, right? I mean, if he was like using bronze or anything like that, it would actually have like a sort of kind of patina to it happening because it's aged or whatever. So I'd say play that up and make the metal look like it's old and shit, rusty and aged. That'd be pretty sweet. So just mess up his armor. Add bits that are old and worn along the edges, make it all ripped up and stuff like that. Like if you look up like old What's that? Dappled lighting? Yeah, dapple lighting is when the lighting falls through the tree leaves and makes little circles and everything, or whatever. Like, you'll notice if you go out on a walk or whatever and the light's falling through the leaves and everything like that, it can make pretty cool, like, looking sunbeams and things like that you could use. But, I mean, we could play up this ambient lighting that you have going on right now. It's very moody and misty, and just keep everything very subtle. Oh yeah, but also since he's like a super dead spooky skeleton man, and he's probably been dead for a while and has been in battles and fought many other people have probably stumbled down here, just make him look like he's been through many battles and mess up his armor a lot. So just adding like rusty bits to the edges, and if you look up like old cast bronze swords from when, like, was it Celtic swords and stuff like that, that'd be really awesome to use. Let me see if I can Google that real fast. Bronze. Just like Bronze Age stuff. Let's see if I can find some really old ones. There we go. I think I found some images. Just gonna drag this over to my screen. So what you're looking for is something with like it's all teared up on the edges, like that, or like this. That'd be pretty sweet to have on your like little skeleton man. I see how these axe heads are. This is what happens when it becomes really old and oxidizes. Those exposed to elements and stuff like that. It looks really cool. It's got that slight like greenish stuff and then the rust on it as well. It looks really sweet, and it's just like gnarled up, and you can tell it's been through a lot. So you might want to think about doing that, like introducing that to make it not look so clean. So give it a little bit of personality, like he's, you know, fought a lot of guys that came down here, and he's probably won. So let's find a few. That's cool. That's really cool. Here we go. This is pretty sweet. This will be way no to look at. So I'm just gonna drag this off to my other monitor. What about blood? Yeah, you can do like old dried on blood and stuff like that. That'd be pretty sweet. Yeah, you can do anything. And if he's been killing people, he might as well, like, maybe he's been stealing their jewelry and shit like that too. Like, stack it up. But that would make him pretty bling bling, like, looking. Can make him a gangster skeleton. You don't have to though. It'd be really funny. I'm just gonna like draw on his ribs. Just imply them. The light would be hitting a little bit here probably. Just make sure the shield's blocking out. It needs to be blocked out. Maybe it would have some like underneath the armor they usually wore chainmail and stuff like that. More often than not, people just back in like the Bronze Age, they would just wear either just really thick leather or chainmail. Like rarely ever did they ever make armor back then because it was very intensive and only really rich people could afford it. But maybe some old chainmail hanging down on him underneath his armor, that'd be pretty sweet. On top of the like tattered rags you gave him. I'll go ahead and do that. And don't be afraid to like mess him up. Like keep his anatomy kind of broken and sloppy because he probably broken some bones and stuff, so he's not gonna be perfect. Like a model of healthy skeletons. It's gonna be gnarly. I'm gonna drop in some stuff. Could also like do some squigglies on his helmet too. To be like, here's some designs. There we go. Trying to just push his silhouette just a bit. Maybe he would have like a bit of like a guard here, especially since it's a sword arm. He'd have that little, I forget the name of the thing, that sticks up and protects the blade from chopping into the side of your neck. Make this all rusty and messed up here. taking a bit of the colors from around him and I'm just kind of putting that in his armor. It kind of works as if it's the oxidization on the metal and stuff like that as well. But just keep in mind you can use the ellipse tool. Say if you're painting and rendering out the shield and you're still having trouble. Hey, what's up, Captain? Yo ho. Say if you're like having trouble rendering it out, you can always just keep the selection or keep this shape on a separate layer and then just press Control or Command on the icon just to pull up the selection and then go back to your painting layer to clean up the edge and keep everything nice. I'm just gonna knock in right there. Just gonna knock that in, clean it up, clean it up. Yeah, but this is basically just a bunch of noodling. Like, you could noodle forever. But just make sure you keep the silhouette readable. Make sure everything's going back into space properly. And you should be pretty good. I think this probably is far enough to where you could take it. I don't know. I think if I paint on this anymore, it's going to be just my painting. And not yours anymore. Hey, what's up, people who are joining? I'm giving, Severdu or whatever, a paintover. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with screen names. But he gets a spooky skeleton man. So. Which is really cool, by the way. I really liked. You have a lot going here, actually. You don't really need to do much to push it much further. You should be fine. Just don't be afraid to be a little bit dirty with it and add some texture and attitude to them. And a cool thing too is it goes back into space on the sword. Don't keep it too light throughout it. Make sure you darken it up a bit as it goes towards the tip. Or like imply like dried on blood and rust again and all that good stuff. You're gonna add that contrast to make this silhouette really strong and pop. And just look up, like, you know, Bronze Age stuff, like, you know, the armor and the swords and stuff like that. You can use that as reference, especially the shields, too. Like, that way you can have more, like, an authentic sort of feel to it. And you're going to bring some of that bronzy color from the shield back into the armor as well. Because you have it, like, looking very goldish. Make these tatters coming behind him. His bones a bit more. Alright. Sweet. Hey, do you have an email that you want me to send this paint over to? Or do you think that's good enough for you? And I'd say just look up Swampy Forest to get more of an idea, and some like moss-covered rocks and things like that from ponds and streams on Google or anywhere else. And then you could just take that and like look at those images and study them a bit and then paint them into your illustration here. It would really give another depth, like another layer of depth onto it, and just give it a little bit more. And just keep in mind that things go back in space, they get lighter and lighter as you were doing. Don't be afraid to get a little bit messy with it too, because it's not going to be all perfect. It's going to be a bit chaotic. And don't make the things, like, I know you had the ground going very straight, but let it have some slope and some slide to it. Like, let it be a little bit more windy. I don't know. Bob Ross is better at this than me. But yeah, I'll send it to your email. I'll just go and do a zip file or whatever, and then you can flip through all the things and check it out. But I'm not going to go any further on this, so you can just, because if I go any further, it's going to be totally like me doing too much work and not your painting anymore. But yeah, you're totally welcome. I hope it helps, and if you have anything you're confused about, then let me know, and I'll try my best to, you know, clear it up. But yeah.
Is that mean?